Thought he left, Mr. Mansour. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to have you here, as I said, on this very, very special occasion. And as you know me, I'm always thinking of ideas. And I would like to tell Mr. Mansour. Welcome home. Let me just update you very quickly on some of the AmCham activities. This is our annual general meeting, and we are proud to launch a project that we've been working on for over a year. It's our new AmCham website, and I would like you all to go to it, and it's much faster. It's using new technologies, easy browsing. We have now 15,000 pages of dynamic content on it. It really is, and I'd really like to take this opportunity to thank the Business Information Center, Amr Mansour and his development team for this fantastic one. We've been working on it for many, many months, or they have been working on it. I've just been watching. You can, if we go through many of the features, you can click on the calendar of activities. You can watch videos that you have missed. You have all the programs on there, plus all the online services. We'll be featuring some of these features. Maybe every lunch we'll show you one activity. But the calendar one is interesting. You can see all the activities coming up and past on the calendar. Again, I'd like to thank the BIC team for a wonderful job done. Yeah. Our Career Development Center programs are now available in Upper Egypt. We are now having an office in Asyut University. As you know, we already have offices in Cairo University, Alexandria University, through Ahmadis, also in Shams University. So we're really giving our services to students and so on. Also, AmCham has been recognized as one of the top 10 international providers of human resource certifications in 2009 by the Society for Human Resource Management in the US, which is the largest human resource association in the world, with over 250,000 members and over 140 countries. And I would like to thank the CDC for their effort and their achievements in many, many certificates, Mohammed Amin and his team. The MENA US Trade and Investment Report is out. We have a MENA report on trade and investment with the US. It concentrates on the 8 MENA Council countries that are part of the AmCham group. It has an overview of the business environment in the MENA region, MENA US trade and investment, trade agreements, and related trade data. As you know, also, we are all connected, 8 AmChams, by the website that is hosted in Cairo. So you can search in any country. If you're looking for somebody in a particular sector, it's on our website, and you can, as AmCham Egypt, you can come that. A couple of upcoming events. On June 6th, we are hosting Dr. Kamal Sabra, who is the Assistant Minister of Health for Pharmaceutical Affairs. And this is hosted by the Health and Pharmaceutical Committee. On June 8th, the Marketing Committee is having its 9th Marketing Executive Development Session, which is bringing people who are successful in the marketing field to share their stories with the young marketeers, 5 to 10 years experience, 25 to 30-year-olds. I think that's a wonderful mentoring experience for them. June 9th, we're having a limited roundtable discussion We're signing a memorandum of understanding with the Brookings Institution, with the Wolfenson Center, the newly launched Entrepreneur and Innovation Committee, headed by Ahmed Al-Daili and Sharif Kamel, will be hosting the Brookings Institution. They've just launched a report on social entrepreneurship, and they'll be presenting that. June 10th, the International Cooperation Committee will be hosting Ambassador Mark Franco, head of the European delegation in Egypt, to tell us about his programs, our upcoming programs in Egypt. June 21st, the Transport Committee will be hosting the IFC, they will talking to us about the partnering with the private sector to create opportunities in the logistics center, the Transport Committee headed by Amr Abil. June 20th, 23rd, we will be in Washington. We will be on an IT trade mission. We will also be having a luncheon for Minister Tariq Kamel in Washington, D.C. We will be forwarding the invitation to you very shortly. If you have senior executives that you would like to have them attend this event in Washington on the 22nd of June, please feel free to forward to them and let them register on our website. Following that, we are having a business mission to Pittsburgh. We're being hosted by the Middle East Institute at Pittsburgh. Again, we will be showcasing Egypt and the IT sector, 24th and 25th of June. As you will hear from our president, AmCham has had a good 2009 year, and we could not have done that without our annual corporate partners. And it's our now tradition to recognize those annual corporate partners. And if they'll join me up here, please, so that we can recognize them. Please, Arab African International Bank, Bavarian Auto Group, CIB, Coca-Cola. Kurt, please. Kurt, can everybody come up here, please, from the... Jimmy, please. Gamal, please, yes.
Kurt, I'm the only one who didn't pay money. If I can.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your money.
Okay, anytime. Cheers.
Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rajiv. Ayman. President. Steve, and welcome to Egypt.
Thank you very much.
And good luck. Khalid.
Ladies and gentlemen, without these wonderful companies, AmCham wouldn't be what it is. Please give them a major thanks. Now I'll turn this over to our President, Gamal Muharram. Gamal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to take long. This will kill Hisham, but you can read it in your annual report. Thank you very much. Just kidding, Asad. Just kidding. I was trying to imitate Hisham Hassan. He was very smart. He did it in 2 seconds. Unfortunately, I have to read the 5 pages, or Hisham will be very upset. First, thank you for being here today on our 28th annual general meeting. And on behalf of the AmCham Board of Directors or Board of Governors, I have the honor to present to you the board report for the year 2009. While the world was on hold during the recession, 2009 was a year filled with remarkable accomplishments and solid performance for AmCham, and 2010 looks as good. By the end of 2009, the number of AmCham members had reached an all-time high of 1,700 members. Despite the economic downturn, AmCham continued to serve as an advocate for a better business environment and as a valuable resource for information on U.S.-Egypt relations. Through the year, AmCham organized more than 45 events and monthly luncheons featuring high-profile guest speakers, including the Honorable former U.S. Vice President Al Gore, Steve Ballmer, Chief Executive Officer of Microsoft, as well as a large number of Egyptian cabinet ministers and visiting U.S. officials. The AmCham's 20 sectorial committees met 140 times over 2009. Utilizing the depth of our membership to provide a practitioner's point of view on major economic issues, AmCham Egypt honored its commitment to advocating for favorable business relations with Egypt's largest single trading partner, the U.S. We also organized our annual Door Knock mission in March 2009 with a 50-member delegation to continue the momentum and further the dialogue of the March mission. An additional special dock mission to Washington took place only 2 months later in June 2009. And again, an IT business mission took place in November. We usually do 1 door knock, but since I become a president, we are doing 3. I'm very lucky. Our magazine, Egypt Business Monthly, continued its circulation of over 9,500 copies. Rated among the highest local English language, the Business Studies and Analysis Center produced several comprehensive reports, including the Egypt-US Guide to Trade, an extensive publication produced to familiarize business with import procedures in the US and export procedures in Egypt. AmCham's website now receives over 2 million hits per month. And our Business Information Center, the BIC, continues to innovate and look for ways to serve our members and the business community at large with many online services. 3,000 candidates were trained through the AmCham Career Development Center, the CDC. There is much more that the Chamber has done in 2009, but I leave all the details for you to read in the annual report that you have. Finally, I would like, of course, to thank my colleagues on the Board of Governors and the leadership of AmCham's gifted staff and their managers. Hisham, thank you. I mean, you did a great job. You are making us working hard. His nickname is Holako, and I'm saying this in public, then you can call him from now on as Wolaco. Sylvia Menassa. Sylvia Menassa, طبعا the queen of the chamber, I would call her. Muhammad Amin, Amr Mansour, Khalid Swalam, and of course, Ambassador Dr. Magda Shaheen. All of them, and with the help of a talented and committed staff, have helped strengthen the organization's domestic and regional presence. Finally, without you, really, we didn't have the chamber. I would like to thank you, my fellow members, for their support in 2009. And it is your participation and dedication that makes AmCham Egypt a premier business organization. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to present His Excellency Mohammed Mansour, our dear friend. And again, I don't like Hisham when he puts songs, because he put one last time, and if you remember, correct? It was a one-way train or one-way what يا فهشام بطل يا شيخ. Mohammed Mansour was appointed as Minister of Transport on December 28, 2005. He led the nation's transportation network covering roads and bridges, railways, underground, ports, maritime transport, mass transit, and river transport. Now, today, he resumed his position as chairman of Mansour Group, and also he's currently the chairman of Crédit Agricole Bank in Egypt. Mohammed serves and had served on the boards of several organizations. He's the founder and chairman of the LEAD Foundation, ranked number 10 in the Global 100 ranking of microfinance institutions, 1.5 million users. He's also the chairman of the Al-Mansour Charity Foundation, and he is a member and a former Secretary General of the Future Foundation. He served on the board of the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies at Georgetown University, the George Washington School of Business Advisory Board, the International Advisory Board of the Coca-Cola Company, Special Olympics of Egypt, the Egyptian Stock Exchange, the Social Fund for Development, and the Board of Trustee of the American University in Cairo. And also he served as the chairman of Egypt-US Business Council, and of course our past president. And we are proud to have you today, and being the first public appearance in the chamber. يعني متشكرين يا محمد جدا على this gesture that you are with us on your first appearance. Please welcome with me Mr. Mohammed Mansour.
Before Mr. Mansour comes up, for those who were not here, this is how we said farewell to Mr. Mansour in 1994.
Now I know how Lutfi is handsome with his beard.
Well, what can I say? I'm very touched. Thanks, Gamal, for this great introduction. Hisham, I think you'll be a director pretty soon in the movies. About a month ago, I was sitting relaxed, and now I have a lot of time just to sit and compliment, and contemplate about life and strategically where we're going to go. I was sitting relaxing on Saturday, and Hisham calls me on the phone. And we chatted. Hi, Muhammad, how are you? How are things? Things are fine. And then he sprung me with this, Muhammad, would you come and speak to the AmCham about your experience? I've never been really able to tell no to Hisham. Hulako is the right word, ya Gamal. I think it's right. All along, Hisham, because he's so dear to us all, to me personally, I've worked with him. I've known him for the last 20 years. I was fortunate enough to have a part in bringing him back to the chamber. So I felt obligated. And so I said yes. Then we carried on the discussion. And being the impulsive person by nature, he says, okay, let's choose a topic. So we said from private to public to private, a case study. After I said this, I thought, how is the best way to weasel out of this? But here I am today. So I will take you through, because first of all, I want to say this, I'm extremely honored and thrilled and very touched with the attendance here today, with the emotion I saw from many people, and this means a lot to me. Well, another thing about Hisham that I wanted to mention, there's a British program called Minister, whereby the ministers come, the ministers go, but the undersecretary, he runs the place. So Muhammad Mansour came, then Tahir Helmi, then Omar Mahanna, then Gamal now, and he's running the place with an iron fist, so let's give him a hand. So let's go back to the private side, because many people here would be interested maybe on the private side of the experience. My family, my brothers, sister, she's sitting here with us, and I have to recognize her because she's a tough lady. Our late father started the business. We used to be in the cotton business back in the 50s. We had the second largest cotton exporting company. And then it was nationalized and sequestrated. And the three brothers, my father had the vision to send the three brothers to the States. We studied there, we came back, and we started as a small dealer in General Motors in the city of Alexandria. It gave us a lot of experience because I was the tea boy, the guy who raised the letter of guarantee, the salesman, the whole works. And gradually the business started to grow. And we started to have a dealership in Cairo, and then a dealership in Upper Egypt, and our business sales started to grow. Then came Caterpillar. Caterpillar they came at that time, it was Sadat's time, and they were looking for maybe some young men to take the distribution at that time. They asked the banks, so they said there are three guys, Ismail, Yusuf, Muhammad, and Yassin joined later, and of course their sister Rawia, who have been educated abroad and might be able to fit the bill. So we started that back in 77. And then the 80s, we went through a very tough time. And when I mean tough, I mean there were days that when we went home, I didn't know what would happen next day. I mean, the business was going through such a difficult time, and the cash flow was almost not there. So we had to roll up our sleeves and work 18 to 20 hours a day. But one thing mattered the most was the name that the father left us and that the mother supported us. And we managed to get through that difficult time. Part of it, a lot of it had to do with our mistakes. Learning, we were in our 20s, learning overgrowth, expansion, and making decisions that we didn't really realize what the impact would be. So we went through a very, very, very difficult time, and like I say, there were days we didn't know what tomorrow would be, whether we'd close up, the banks were on our backs. And I remember a statement that my father said, and excuse me for the chairman of bankers sitting here, a bank will give you the umbrella as long as the sun is out, and he'll pull it when it starts raining. And that was the fact. We went through cash flow squeezes, but we stood our own, and we kept plowing and plowing and plowing. And then finally came the 90s. We went through that hump. So our decision then in the 90s was to be very conservative. اللي يتلسع من الشوربة ينفخ في الزبادي. So we said to ourselves, growth is, we have to be very careful. We had to be very careful with banks. We had to be very careful with the debt-to-equity ratio that we have. And we kept, through the help, really, of the people sitting here with us at the different companies that we had, to be able to build a very solid organization. Then came Philip Morris, and after Philip Morris, McDonald's, the GME factory. It was a vision, how to invest in a factory in Egypt that became the largest today in the Middle East. All this took strategic thinking and planning. Then, this was back till, I'd say, 1992. Having, alhamdulillah, a good name, opportunities came to us, and people would say, I want to build a hotel, I want to have a project such and such, would you come and invest? But we always had in the back of our mind, do not overextend yourself. So we formed this private equity firm that Yassin Mansour is running today, MMID, Mansour and Maghrabi for Investment and Development, with a capital of $50 million at that time. And the purpose of it was everything family-owned would stay family-owned. All the focus would stay on the family business. Anything new coming would go that route. From MMID came Palm Hills, which today is one of the largest real estate owners and developers in Egypt. From MMID came Crédit Agricole Bank, of which we are honored to be a partner with, one of the large European banks. And Saint-Gobain, the French glass industrial manufacturer, who now have a factory with a capital, I think, of $200 million or whatever in Suez. So phase one, dealership, organization. Many of the people I see here today lived through us through this period. Phase two, MMID. Then came December 26th, 2005. That date, I was honored and privileged to be asked by President Mubarak to serve in the Egyptian government. To me, I really didn't have much time to think. December 26th, December 28th, 2005, I was sworn in. I didn't know what I was getting into, frankly. But I knew one thing. I knew that I love this country. This country, we owe it a lot. Our family, our fathers, ourselves, and our children. And we must do as human beings whatever we can. So I said, and I started December 28th, and I resigned from 58 directorships or chairmanships of companies in Egypt, and gave strict instructions to all our companies, and my brothers Yusuf, Yassin, and Rawia. We all agreed, we will not sell one iota, not a car, no equipment, nothing that has to do with the Ministry of Transport. At that time, our market share to the sales of the Ministry of Transport were in the excess of 80 and 90%, and I think there are people here from the ministry that can vouch for this. And I said, not even spare parts. Because we had to pull a line. That was then, and this is now. So I started and walked into the Ministry of Transport all alone, and I said, okay, what's next? What do we do? I realized, it took me a few weeks, with the accidents happening in the ferry, the train accidents, that this was a very, very difficult ministry. It's a service ministry. It's a ministry that affects the life of every single human being every day of his life. And a lot of the time, like many other ministries in the service area, the health, the housing, the education, the transport, the local governorates, these ministries affect the lives of people. And you hardly, if something happens and the clarity of the ministry is not very clear, what's the responsibility? If the traffic is bad in Cairo, is this the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport? The answer is no. But if you ask the man in the street, he will say yes. The bus lines, is it the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport? The answer is no. But it affects people's lives. I had reporting to me 23 authorities and companies with a very limited staff. So what was the responsibility of this ministry? The railroad, the roads and bridges, the Nile transport, the ports, and the metro. We transported 5-6 million people every day. And like His Excellency Hatem al-Gabali, if you don't hear anything, then things are fine. You only hear when things are bad, when something happens. Then they say, they put the picture of the minister and they say, he is responsible. There was a very limited budget in the ministries, extremely limited to the extent that the railroad was losing 1.6 billion pounds every year. There was no expenditures as capital expenditures. The roads, only 300 kilometers of single roads were being built. There was no Nile transport whatsoever. There were 2 lines of metro. And our ports were quite uncompetitive. And there was no recognition whatsoever from the donor community. So what we did, we sat down, and it didn't take any rocket science, by the way, because we got a lot of support from the cabinet. We got a lot of support from the president. We hired the best minds in the world, the Boozes of this world. We hired consultants to tell us how to restructure, how to have a master plan. So for the railroad, we restructured it this year, and I'm going to be brief for time's sake. Instead of a loss of 1.6, last year the loss was 180 million pounds. This year we will break even. But people say loss is not everything. I agree. But we also upgraded the stations, the carriages, new locomotives, paid a lot of attention to the labor. There were strikes, if you remember, every other week. So we gave them 200 million pounds. The roads from 300 kilometers, 3,500 kilometers. Today, when you go to the Sahel al-Shamali or the North Coast, you will see the New Cairo Desert Road. You will see also the ring road that's going around Cairo that's being built 400 kilometers. You'll see the North Coast Road that's being upgraded. 36 roads today are being done this moment. 12 Nile bridges, 6 of them in the south, when the total was 8 over the last 200 years. An additional 6 Nile bridges that will be completed within the next 12 months. The ports, nobody sees the ports or the effects that are on the ports. Alexandria Port completely rebuilt. It was old, it was not functional, and it was unproductive. It used to take 15 days to clear goods. It takes 1 day today. Port of East Port Said, I think, is going to be the jewel of Egypt. And when we went there, it was pure desert. There was 1 container terminal. In 2007, It was the fastest growing container port in the world. Little of you would know that it's number 3. It was number 3 last year in the Mediterranean. It surpassed Turkey. The first is Algeciras in Spain, or Valencia in Spain, and the second one is João Tauro in Italy. And East Port Said, or Port Said, was number 3. This year, I think it will be number 1. All this, we did a master plan for East Port Said where the investments would come in. From 0 foreign direct investment in the Ministry of Transport, we have today $3.5 billion of investment actually works being put. These are facts. They're not words I'm saying to keep my job. These are facts that have happened. Nile transport dredged the whole Nile, meaning the depth of the Nile was done. 2 ports were being tendered, and we increased the movement of goods on the Nile from 1 million tons to 5 million tons today in 2 years. The metro, the funds for funding the 3rd line were not there. It's there today. £7 billion of phase 1 and phase 2. The first phase will be completed, or should be completed, in July of 2011, and the second phase, July of 2013. So this brings us to now. What has Mohammed Mansour learned from this experience? I can tell you that as a public official, the responsibilities and the scope is much, much more than that of a private sector. How can one compare running a business in the private sector to being part of the government? The responsibilities are much bigger, and you are the ultimately responsible person. It was a fantastic experience. I know I will be asked the question, would you do it again? And Hatem is sitting here, and he's laughing because he remembers. We were coming back from Marsa Matruh, and I called him always my partner in events, either accidents or whatever. We always went together. When we got back, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. There was a train accident that a bus had run into the train. And we spent there till 4 in the morning, and we flew back with him. When we arrived, I pulled him to the side and said, Hatem, this was a year ago. I said, Hatem, if asked, would you do it again? He said yes. And my answer is yes also. Now, let's look at the negatives. Not negatives, but the challenges. It's a huge responsibility, but a great sacrifice. And my colleagues here, His Excellency Hatem al-Gabali, His Excellency also Michel Pharaon from Lebanon will confirm this. A minister's job is a very hard job. And we should support those people in the cabinet and those people in government. It's long, very long working hours. These have been very hard 4 years for me, for my family. You have the very good days and you have the very bad days. One day you're up flying high in the sky, and then the next day you're in the pits because you're being attacked. And I'm going to talk about the attack. There's definitely a sacrifice on one's health. There's a sacrifice on no sleep whatsoever. I used to sleep with my mobile beside me because I was expecting something might happen, that I should be up and aware. No holidays, none whatsoever. You work, all people in government today, all members of cabinet work 24 hours, 18 hours, each in his own responsibility, and it's a very lonely and very thankless job. Because rarely does somebody come to you and say, you know, Hatem, you built a nice clinic, or Ahmed, you did a nice sewage, or Muhammad, you know, this. What you hear is, this is bad, this is bad. You open the paper in the morning, negative, 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 negative. Extremely stressful, because the topics that are considered change from one moment to the other. One moment you're talking roads, next minute you're talking bridges, another minute you're talking metro, another minute you're talking media, another moment you're talking parliament, another moment you're talking politics, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And the challenges are just humongous. And you cannot make a mistake. It's very taxing, extremely. You know, when I was in the private sector, my colleagues here will confirm, 4 o'clock by the minute, I was going home. I used to take my siesta in the afternoon, have my lunch, think about what I'm going to do for dinner tonight, where I'm going to go, who I'm going to see, what party, what event, and next morning, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. As a minister, you can't do this. You're so tired, you're so full of, you have to think what you're going to be tomorrow. So you have to decide, am I going to work or am I going to do what? Very long hours, 18, 20, depends. Another thing, the companies, our companies got negatively affected, meaning because we stopped selling to areas that we did have a market share, so our market share was negatively affected, but this opened opportunities for others. Coming from the private sector and coming from a large private sector group, I did not see a honeymoon from day one. You know, you expect when you become a minister at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, but I was not so fortunate. From day one, it was always, Muhammad, the toilets in the train are not clean. You know, I don't know what happened here, what happened there, and you're sitting trying to absorb and trying to learn in the first 90 days. Because what you say will be held against you. For example, as I said, I was sworn in on the 28th of December, and I became minister effective the beginning of 2006. But 9 months before that, or 10 months before that, we have the people of Crédit Agricole here. We were a small bank with Crédit Agricole, with CCF, it had 8 branches. And being progressive and wanting to grow, Yassine and I and Yusuf went to Paris. There was a change in the management, the top management of Crédit Agricole, and there was a new gentleman, his name was Jean Laurent. So he invited us for breakfast. So I went and told him, I don't speak French. I said, there was a translator, and he didn't speak English. I said, Jean Laurent, Mr. Laurent, we want to grow. There is this bank called EAB that's being put for sale. So he, in his nice manner, he said, Egypt right now is not on our radar screen. So I told him, Mr. Laurent, why have you seen the pyramids? Would you like to come and see Egypt? Why don't you come and see for yourself? And I truly believe in this. When people come to our country and see what it has, this gives us more of strength. So I convinced him to come in May of 2005 with his wife. We spent 2-3 days. In these 2-3 days, I was, you know, a private sector person. I took him to meet Dr. Nazif. I took him to meet Rashid. I took him to meet Mahmoud Muhyiddin, Yusuf Boutros Ghali, and the guy was very impressed. And he came back and said, Muhammad, we will bid. So we bid together. We bid to the central bank, August, September, October, shortlisted, then awarded in October of 2005. Now, the ceremony of the bank being sold was going to be in the end of December or beginning of January. That was when I was being sworn in, first week. Hell breaks loose. Front page, manchette, the papers, family of money and using Mansour and Maghrabi to influence acquisition of banks, blah, blah, blah. It took us 2 months trying to respond. Parliament, newspapers, everything. This was a deal that was done before I even went into the cabinet. Now, being part of the private sector, I want to say this, that, and sorry, friends can be blunt and be honest with each other. There are 6 ministers or 7 ministers that came from the private sector. And these ministers are being attacked by media in the private sector, owned by the private sector. This, to me, gives a lot of negativity, unnecessary negativity, when we have all worked with diligence, with honor, trying to do the best we can. And we as private sector members all think of ourselves as islands. I will do what protects my business. But other than that, it was left. And whatever brings, on the TV stations, negativity, day in, day out. There is nothing positive anymore. All is negative. All we see, all we hear is negative. When we look, when the world was in a crisis, Egypt was one of the very few countries that had a positive GDP. When the world was in a crisis, we have a growth rate and people are creating jobs. But all you hear now, for some reason or other, and all we see, and by the way, the people of the media, although some of them, a lot of them are my friends, a lot of them have been extremely supportive. There are a few that have not, but I must say that I'm saying this as being somebody who can say he's an honest bystander now and is thinking of the welfare. Another thing, that regulations in the government. In the private sector, the owner, managing director, CEO, chairman can make a decision. He is held accountable. But in government, there are regulations, there are decrees that one has got to read very carefully, because one mistake could be extremely detrimental. Delegation of authority. Any good manager delegates authority. In government, it's very difficult to do that, because the selection of people is not your choice. They've been here long before you have. So you have a great mixture of number of people, different people, each different in his own way, some productive, some not so. So you have to make the decision, where do I go from here? And who can I trust? And who can I take the advice of? And it's people that help you. A good manager is not a person that runs his own shop. He has to have good people around him. So in government, you really work with what you have, but you try to complement it. Another thing, in government, it's not your money. In the private sector, it is your money. In government, it's not your money. You work, you're much more careful with the money of others. Having said all these challenges, I want to say this. I worked with a great number of colleagues. This is the first time, by the way, that I have addressed anybody in the last 7 months. I've made a point of it because I did not want to hear that or hear this. So I want to say also that I worked with a great number of people, and some of them are here with me today. These are people that when I left Mantrack, I asked them to join me, which they did, and they were putting 18 and 20 hours a day, working wholeheartedly. I'd please like them to stand up, and if we can give them a hand ovation, please. Could you please stand up? I have been honored to have served with President Mubarak, who, by the way, has been extremely supportive during my term as Minister of Transport, and even more when I left government. He has called me and we have spoken on several occasions. And I want to tell you, for a person that has had the honor of working with him for years, he's a man with a great heart. And I have been extremely honored to have worked with him. I have also been extremely fortunate to work with members of the cabinet, Dr. Nazif, and all the colleagues in the Egyptian cabinet that I've really have given me all the support that I have asked for during the 4 years that I have worked. I like to feel somewhat that I have contributed in my own way to my country. I did serve with honor, and I did leave with honor. So what is the future? Private, public, back to private again. The DNA of which we are made does not allow us to sit and bask in the sun. I can retire if I want, but I don't think I know how. So we're thinking of new ways to grow our business internally and externally, and also to make our group a top in its class in the region, while fulfilling our duty as our social duty one and economic responsibility to our country. I want to thank Gamal, Hisham, the board, and especially you. You can't imagine how touched I am today to see many friends that I haven't seen for many years, for you to take the time. I know you're all very busy, to take the time to join with me. This means the world to me, more than anything and more than you can imagine to me and my family. I thank you. Thank you.
We can't let him get away without some questions and answers. I would like to ask our two executive vice presidents, Kurt Ferguson and Anis Aklimandos, to come and field those questions. While they're coming up, again, I'd like to thank you, Mohammed, thank the board for their kind comments on the AmCham. And as you said, it's a team, a real team effort. And I'd like to reiterate my thanks to my staff and my managers, Sylvia, Mohammed, and our princess, Dalia Yunus, Amr, Mansour, and Khaled. And thank you very much, everybody, for the support for this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for coming here today. Since you've been away, the meals have gotten a little better. We've gotten a little older. And Hisham's got a new title. I don't know how that worked, but having run businesses before, what is the one thing you would change at the government? What is the one thing? If you had to strategically go through and say, just problem solving, if I had to change one thing today, it sounds like night and day where you're working.
I think the biggest challenge in government is, like I've said earlier, is human resources. The way the pay scales are set up, where people the pay scales are not enough to quantify the importance of the job. I mean, in a lot of the ministries, decisions are made for hundreds of millions, and the quality of people could be improved. So that is something I think is a major challenge, because you cannot really make specific change unless you have very good quality people supporting you.
That means that you're missing the big government salary, right?
Sorry?
You're missing the big government salary.
Yeah.
How are you going to cope?
Yes. I'm missing the big government salary, correct?
The next question is how would you advise anybody becoming minister to deal with parliament in Egypt? To deal with the parliament in Egypt?
The parliament is, strangely enough, I have to tell you, I enjoyed the parliament very much. When I went into the cabinet, I was attacked. I think when I left, a lot of them were my friends. A lot of them supported me very much. This means a lot to me. And it's a big challenge. I think Egypt now is going into elections. Majlis al-Shura and Majlis al-Shab will be interesting, but we developed through the years, I think, a very good rapport with the parliamentarians, and the support, I think, was given rightfully when the case was to give support, rightfully so. I think the members of parliament did a good job.
I know you said you would do it all again. We have Lufty sitting here. What would be your advice to him if he'd be approached to come onto the cabinet?
I don't know. It's you know, with young people today, they make their own choice. I think he's somebody I'm extremely proud of, Lutfi, and proud of my brothers, my nephews. I would advise them to do what they love. If this is the type of thing that you love doing, in order to be successful, you must enjoy doing what you do. I think now he has enough responsibility on his hands, being a member of the chamber for one, on the board, and secondly, you know, running a fairly large business. So, but if one of these days he wants to serve his country, I would definitely support him, my wife and I would.
It is obvious that the media has played sometimes not a very constructive role in supporting the government. Do you think that we should have a different training program? We should have a different way of interacting between the government and the media to avoid these problems and be more constructive?
This is a very good question, because this government has been accused of that it has not been able to get its message clear. The government has done a good job, I think, but the media does not, in a lot of the cases, goes for the extravaganza. Like I said, some negative issues. Is this part of democracy? I don't know. I really don't know. But I can tell you it could be self-defeating at times. But one has got to hold this course and continue doing what he is doing. And I guess it's part of the evolution in Egypt, from the press, from the media. And like I can tell you, we all work in the cabinet, all the ministers work very hard and were extremely giving a lot, but a lot of the cases you got used to the negativity, and I'll say it in Arabic, لحد ما الواحد جتته نحست يعني.
From the government side, what is the view of the private sector?
Well, you'll have to ask a member of the government, I don't know.
Mohammed, thank you. It took real guts to take the job you did. It took real guts always to do all the investments you did in Egypt. I always called you the private sector patriot, now public sector patriot. And I think everybody, we owe a real round of applause for Mohammed Mansour.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, good. Thanks very much.